Well, today we are going to see the fleet of Teletica. We get here to see one of the big planes. This is the King Air 200 of Teletica. Well, it is not so big, but it is one of the biggest planes of the fleet. Here are the engines. Follow. These are the flaps. And here track. This is the aileron. These ailerons, which are used with manual control. These are the flaps, which need to be retracted during takeoff and during landing. This is the landing gear. For me. This is the one, the most important thing. There is the stabilizer, and here is the bird. Here is this is the rudder, and this is the stabilizer. Here are also the ailerons, which pull it up. And here is the inside the helmet, which you follow on board. Well, we are here in the King Air 200, one of the big planes of Teletica. Back there is the passenger area, and right here is the cockpit of the King Air 200. What I have here in my hands is the operating handbook, which tells you what to do before, during, and after the preparation for takeoff, after the takeoff, and before, during, and after the landing. So, for example, if you want to see, for example, we're before landing, we check the approach speed, the pressurization of the cabin sign, the flaps, the landing gear, the lights, the prop sync, which is going to be type 1, the radar, and the surface disc, and the yaw damper, which needs to be disengaged. Well, now talking about the cockpit itself, we have right here, we're gonna begin from the most important things to the less important thing. Well, everything in the cockpit is very important. We're gonna begin with the main things. What we have right here is the joke. The joystick is used for The joke is used for directing the plane. So you can, for example, during takeoff, you take the joke to the back for make rotation, and the plane begins to elevate. And for example, you too can turn the joke to the left and to the right. The joke has many other things. For example, it has a mic which is used to talk between the two pilots in the cockpit. They also have another button which is used to talk with the air traffic controller. And there's another button which is called the air traffic controller identity. With this use, if there are too many planes talking at the same frequency and you need to tell something, we need to be a pam pam pam, which is a kind of emergency or a mayday, you use the ATC identity, which is this button right here in the back of the left side of the joke. You just press it and you do it. For example, I don't know, you press the joke, for example, for the air traffic controller, you said permission to take off, and they say get ready to take off, you're King Air 200 taking off, and then you take off. And for the identity, you said King Air 200 mayday mayday, and they say which, repeat, you said King Air 200 mayday mayday, and you press the ATC identity. Now we go with the other parts of the cockpit. Here is the part of the throttle or the thrust of the plane. This is the thrust. This is used to give power to the engines. When you push it forward, you're giving more power to the engines. When you push it back, you're giving less power. When you are about to land, you put it back, and then you take this button, which is the takeoff and go around. You pull it back and you put it on reverse. This is going to make that this is going to cause a reaction in the plane engines, which is called reverse or reductive thrust, which is going to cause the plane to reduce its vertical speed. Here we have the feathers, and we have the fuel cutoff or the fuel pumps, which when you put it, if you pull it forward, you're going to give fuel to the engine so it can start. This is normally used before takeoff, so you can start the engines. Now we have here the autopilot area. Here is the altitude selector, the altitude holding, the heading, the navigation location, and the approach. Here you engage and disengage the autopilot. Here you have the pitch up and pitch down of the plane. You have here the cabin altitude. And for example, if you're gonna fly at too far, This 25 means 25,000 feet. And if you're 25,000 feet, the cabin is going to pressurize at 7,000 feet, which is an environmental, which is a type of environment for the cockpit, so the passengers can support it. Here you have the rate of ascent and the rate of descent, which can go from 1,000 feet per minute to 204 feet per minute. Here we have the flaps. The flaps are exactly those things that are in the back. The flaps are normally used before and before takeoff, so the plane can have but for the plane can ascend. If you don't open the flaps, the plane can ascend because it has sustentation. And before landing, you need to put the flaps at full so the plane can reduce its velocity. Alright, now we have here the main controls. We have here your position with respect to the horizon. This is used, for example, if you're taking off, well, this thing in yellow is going to get up and it's going to show you how many degrees are you going up. If you use the joke and you pull it down, it's going to show you how are you. So for example, if I pull it like this way, it is normally going to make like this. And if I push it, it's going to go up. Well, here we have the airspeed in knots with respect to the wind, not to the vertical speed on the ground. It can go from 100 knots to, for example, what it is selected here, 240 knots to 300 knots. Here we have the heading of the plane. This is like well, we have the heading of the plane, and now we have the heading selector of the plane. This is the course. This is the course of the plane. For example, it is in course 3. No, it is in heading 3. This is the heading and course of the plane. It's now in heading 3, and its course is 079. For example, if I'm gonna put it in 80, when I put it in 80, it is in course 080. And this is a radial altimeter. It's going to show you how many feet it is ascending per minute and at which altitude it is getting. This is the vertical speed with the plane respected to the ground. This is normally used when you are about to land to show you how fast are you going. Here are the torques and the fuel pumps. Is going to show you the main things about the engines. This is used mainly for the engines, which are out there, and it's going to show you if there is any abnormality with the engines. These screens right here is going to show you the radar and other main things of the plane. It is also going to show you if there is anything wrong with your plane. This is the altitude selector. This plane normally flies at the highest altitude is going to be 25,000 feet. And you can select, for example, the altitude you want. For example, if the control tells you to go at 23,000 feet, you put it at 23,000 feet. It is going to be right there. This is the communication place. Here, well, you put the navigation 1, communication 2, everything you want. And this is the area of the co-pilot. These are different, as you can see. This is a bigger one because this is the captain's seat, and this is the co-pilot seat. At the end, it is the same, but this is a little bit bigger because the captain needs to have like a bigger look of the cockpit. What we have right here is the oxygen mask, which are used in case the plane has a smoke. In case in the cockpit there is smoke, or in case there is a depressurization of the plane. Right here we have the warnings of the plane. For example, if you enter in a stall, which is when the plane loses sustentation and speed in the air, and it's going to show you, so you need to push the joke forward to recuperate the sustentation. It is going to show you if there's no landing gear. Well, any type of warning with respect to the plane. This is the landing gear after you take off, and after you take off, you pull it up. Before you take off, you need to pull it down. And this is basically the cockpit. It is a cockpit of the R200, and it's been a pleasure.